less clarity than ever before. We all know that we're working with fewer resources, but we've got a clarity problem too. And I saw many of you raise your hands. Some of you may be very clear in what your job is, but we're very unclear around the direction of where workforce is heading. We get mixed messages out of Washington, D.C., and things like that. Because right now, we are being asked to solve problems that flat out didn't exist back when WIA, the primary law that governs our industry, was passed in 2014. Or back in 1998 when WIA, its predecessor, the Workforce Innovation Act, or Investment Act, which is essentially what WIA is today, but WIA got a little bit of lipstick along the way, when it was passed, right? So we've been operating on essentially the same law for the entirety of this century, and a couple extra years. And today, we're in a situation where AI is reshaping jobs faster than we can write policy. Employers are demanding skills and not degrees, but in practice, they're still hiring like it's 2005. Systems have evolved. You're still requesting, do you have degrees when you do your application? It's still part of the filtering processes. Technology processes, and even truly the people that do the work of recruiting have not yet updated to this new vision for what hiring should be in many ways. And the workers, after hundreds of applications that went into the proverbial black hole, they don't navigate systems anymore. They want systems that navigate them. They just want to be able to come and say, this is who I am, help me find a job. Because I'm frustrated and I'm tired of continually making that effort and not even getting a simple phone screen. Maybe not even getting a thanks but no thanks message, right? It's a very difficult time if you're a job seeker in America, particularly if you're in one of the industries that's most heavily impacted by AI. Because even if you get a job, you don't know if that job is going to last more than a couple of months. It's a real challenge, and for many of the roles that are being most heavily impacted, these were the jobs that your high school guidance counselor were telling you are the ones that are recession-proof. But they weren't future-proof. And so now we're in a very different place. And despite all that, this system, your system, is still the single most important infrastructure we have for connecting people to economic opportunity in this country. That's kind of the tension that we're living in. We're both more relevant than ever and more at risk of being left behind. And if we're honest, a big part of that tension isn't just because of the economy, it's because of policy. The framework that most of us operate under, was built for a different moment in time. A necessary moment, an important one, but a different one. A moment where the primary question was, how do we align these fragmented programs? Not, how do we keep pace with a labor market that's evolving in real time and faster than we can keep up? I think Josh made a comment similar to this yesterday when he was up on stage, but there's one truth in our economy right now. The change has never been this fast, and it will never be this slow again. And this is not a system that is built for rapid advances and change. As you look at yourselves, one of the key skills that a workforce development professional will need in the future is change management, because you are going to be changing at such an incredible pace. Those are the kinds of things that you need to self-reflect on a little bit as you think about how do I continue to fight the good fight that we're doing every single day. So what's happened? We've kind of stretched the system through waivers, through guidance, through creativity at the state and local level. A lot of creativity here in New Mexico. We'll talk about some of that. And some of that innovation has been really, really powerful. But we really need to reflect on what this really is. And we're governing a 21st 2026 workforce with a 2014 statute that's patched together by tools that were never designed to carry this much weight. With a not even fully implemented law, we've never fully implemented WIOA. So now what you're seeing, and I'll talk about some of these legislative priorities here in just a moment, but you're starting to see this patchwork of fixes that are coming out from different legislators to say, hey, let's fix this part of WIOA that never got really implemented properly, or let's fix this, instead of saying, let's fix the entire thing. And let's talk about what's actually happening in the labor market, because this isn't just change, it's also acceleration. The World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report, which surveys more than 1,000 employers representing 14 million workers across 55 global economies, projects that 92 million roles will be displaced globally by 2030, while 107 million new roles will emerge as a result of AI. Sounds like a net positive, right? Plus 82 million jobs, that's awesome. Here's the problem with that. The jobs being destroyed and the jobs being created are not the same jobs. They don't require the same skills, they don't pay the same wages, and they are not in the same geographies. A logistics clerk in Albuquerque, whose role is automated by an AI sorting system, does not automatically transition to becoming a prompt engineer in Silicon Valley. And the distance between those two realities, that gap, is exactly where the human cost of AI displacement lives. And it's real displacement. I mean, we heard Marcus talk a little bit about that yesterday. Like, we understand that there's more disruption than just job loss. In some cases, it's creating disruption in jobs that are going to be flourishing, like DevOps that have to deploy all that good work that the folks that are creating all this coding through vibe coding and things like that live. They're pulling their hair out at this point, right? So this disruption is not a one-way street. It's actually a two-way street. McKinsey estimates that today's existing technology, not future iterations, but what just exists today, could automate approximately 57% of current U.S. work hours. Not 57% of jobs, I'm very clear about that, but 57% of the hours worked across the entire labor force involve tasks that AI can already handle. Going back to that World Economic Forum report, it found that 41% of employers globally plan to reduce their workforce in areas where AI can automate tasks at some point within the next 5 years. For decades, workforce policy assumed that occupations were relatively stable. That training pathways could be designed and delivered over time, and demand signals would hold long enough to act on. AI is challenging every single one of those assumptions, and it's doing it like that. Job descriptions are changing in months, not years. Workers need to reskill continuously, not once per career. And some entry-level roles we rely on as the on-ramps to the middle class are being redefined or eliminated entirely. Our policy is built for linear pathways. The labor market is becoming non-linear. I almost have this vision of like Donkey Kong when I think about it, where you think about a career ladder and you go straight up. But if you ever played the game Donkey Kong, if you're old enough to know that, welcome to my generation. But you would go and move around so that you can get hit by the barrels that Donkey Kong was throwing at Mario. That's kind of the world that workers live in today. And AI is the barrel that is coming to crush them. At least that's how many feel. At the same time, AI is creating tremendous opportunity for folks. It's making their jobs more efficient. It's making middle performers superstars. It's creating new avenues of creativity. It's becoming a thought partner to people that maybe otherwise didn't have that at work. So it's adding a lot to us as well. And we're very, so there's a lot of puts and takes to it. It's not the only thing that's impacting us though. And so if we want to see what some of this really looks like on the ground in terms of kind of this creativity, we get to look right here in New Mexico. For everyone that's in New Mexico, you're doing a good job. I just want to say, kind of getting the chance to see what's happening across happening here isn't just local, it's kind of a preview of what I think many other workforce regions and states in the country are going to be moving towards. For years, we've talked about the knowledge economy, where four-year degrees are prevalent, they're predictable ladders, they're linear careers, getting back to that thought. But what's emerging here is very different. Yesterday we heard about the technician economy. And it's not just advanced manufacturing. You see it in film. Investments from major production companies have turned New Mexico into one of the most active production hubs in the country. And those jobs are lighting technicians, sound engineers, set builders, editors, high skill, high wage, and not dependent on a four-year degree. Institutions like Central New Mexico Community College have responded with kind of short cycle industry-aligned programs built with employers' deliberative months and directly connected to jobs. You see it at our labs. At Sandia and Los Alamos, some of the most advanced science in the world is happening, and surrounding that work is an entire ecosystem of technicians, cybersecurity specialists, advanced manufacturing roles, lab operators, precision trades people, and they're working on some of the most interesting science in the world, things that will literally unlock the atom. If you think AI is impressive, wait till you see what happens coming out of New Mexico with quantum over the next decade or so. I'm very fortunate that I get to spend a lot of time working in the quantum space. I actually lead a quantum sector partnership for the Denver Boulder area as well. I work very closely with Elevate Quantum, which is going to be the district convener. And the work that's happening in that space is now research and development that will turn into jobs here in New Mexico, in Colorado, in Wyoming, in Montana, in California, in New York. And these are good jobs. They pay about $125,000 a year on average. It's really, really inspirational to see. So, but let me get back to that point. The work